everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Walter Lübeck. We talked briefly off record, as I always do with my guests, but I will introduce him first briefly and then ask him the magical question. So, Walter is a spiritual master, founder of the Rainbow Reiki in Germany. He has written 25 books, nine of them about Reiki, and they have been translated in more than 20 languages. He also produced several traditional Isui Reiki and Rainbow Reiki training videos, software for spiritual counseling, and several music CDs because he's also a musician, which is wonderful. So, this is my brief introduction. But now, in your own words, who is Walter?
Well, I'm someone who follows the path of the heart, so I'm in the very lucky position that I can do what my heart tells me to do,
Yeah,
and I do this since about 35 something years. It is demanding in a way because society tells us different,
yeah.
and don't feel happiness in following the path of society, so I follow the path of my heart.
Yes. It's, I mean, just the sound of it is really beautiful. I, I usually try not to get into the intellectual understandings of these spiritual concepts because then, the mind takes over and then starts creating all the stories and all. But if you were to put in very simple terms, what is to follow our own hearts and how do we know when we are following the heart?
That's a very interesting question, Valeria. It's like that. If you feel being in the flow, that is
Yeah.
what is called in today's management consulting businesses state of flow,
Yeah.
when you do things without
Mm,
thinking that you can earn money with it, that you reach a certain goal, that people will like you for that,
yeah.
whatever. If you just do it and you
Yeah.
like to do it,
Yeah.
you are filled with this.
Yeah.
Then, in my understanding, you are
Uh-huh.
following the path of love.
Yeah.
And this gives you tremendous energy. There is no burnout whatsoever
Right.
because you always have lots of energy and
Right.
you are that energy.
Mm. Ah, so basically, we are using this essential fundamental energy, which
Yeah.
is the life force or the divine energy, as some call. Um, that makes so much sense the way you say that, Walter. For me, has been fear has been like the biggest obstacle. Like, what if I follow my heart? Then the mind would just give me so many problems and issues that could happen. So, what is the best way to kind of bypass the mind? Or do we have to bypass the mind, or kind of guide the mind to follow the energies of the heart?
So for me, it is meditation because in meditation you meet divine. And fear is, I talk about the fear which is not related to reality. So
Yeah.
it's not about the impulse to look around whether there is a saber-toothed tiger liking to have you as breakfast.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have these kind of things much around here. But
True.
otherwise, fear will be always healed by the presence of divine. So I regularly go with my mind, my heart, my being into the presence of divine to get into a kind of perspective where there is no fear. Because
Yeah.
when you know you are divine, when you know you are with divine, then you just can change form, but you cannot be deleted. You are everything. Everything
True.
cannot be deleted.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. How many years can I say to that? Forever. Yeah. Beautifully said. And I'm wondering if this path of the heart, as I clearly see that some of us are meant to be on, is that kind of do some of us are actually meant to follow this path specifically? Like in your case, the topic today is about the memories of Lemuria, mother trees, and indigo children, star children, and children of light. Just getting the
Mhm.
topic here. So because it has to do with that topic. So you have memories of Lemuria of
Oh yeah,
lifetimes,
oh
right?
yeah.
So is this something that for you would be an easier thing to do, Walter, to follow the path of the heart because of that?
I think it's in a way something which everybody can find out in the personal horoscope. We all have a
Yeah.
Chiron planetoid in the horoscope, which shows a wound we cannot heal, but where at the
Mm,
same time there is the greatest closeness to divine. So I think that's one of these great conundrums, I think you call it in English,
yeah.
that you are very vulnerable, and this is why you are very much reachable. So
Mm,
I
yeah.
think people who are very vulnerable, who are much wounded in their life, they
Yeah.
have it easier to get
Uh,
into contact with divine.
yeah.
And I
True.
don't
That's
think
true.
that people need to be wounded. So it's not that people should go out there and try to get into trauma. That doesn't work that way.
Right.
But
Right.
you as a
Right.
soul, you decide before you come down what kind of life you want. And whether you want to have a life, well, there are horoscopes where you have lots of trines. So, and people with lots of trines and sextiles, they
Yeah.
have, well, in a way, an easy life. It's predictable, it's
Yeah.
structured,
Yeah.
they enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, they can have a time out, a kind of vacation life. But there
Yes.
are other
True.
lives where you have things to do, and I guess that's my life this time.
Mm,
I decided when I was in between lives that now I really want to go for it, and that means I want to go for the spiritual identity, to the spiritual self, and so
mm,
it is something which people find more easy who are wounded, in
yeah.
my understanding, in my experience.
True. That is true. So that is to say that you never had any traumas. So you don't have any memories of traumas in this lifetime.
Well, my lifetime now was, of course, there were up and downs,
Yeah.
but real trauma I didn't have, but I had them in
Yeah.
former lifetimes.
Oh, you remember them too.
Yes, I remember them too. For example, last lifetime, I was a playboy living in south of France.
Yeah.
I had inherited a big fortune from my family who were weapon dealers. I didn't know that until I was at a certain age.
Right.
And I was sponsoring spiritual teachers from Thailand, from Vietnam, from Cambodia, and so on. But I did not really follow their advice. I just gave them a hotel, I gave them
Yeah.
audience, I gave them a place to give their teachings. And at a certain time, my life was so meaningless
Right.
that I just committed suicide by driving with my car over the edge of a certain road.
Oh my God.
And when I woke up in the life between,
Yeah.
I said, next time, nothing like that again.
Yeah.
Nothing. I would like to do the right thing. I like to
Mm,
follow my spiritual path.
yeah.
And I had many traumas which I remembered in former lives. And
Yeah.
this is one thing why I'm not sure whether I should wish that someone remembers former lifetimes, because
Right.
yes, you have had lots of good times, but you also had
Mm,
horrible times.
yes.
And it's not easy to differentiate from that and to open your heart and forgive, but this is necessary if you want to go on.
Right. That's true. So these memories you had from lifetimes, did you actually look for them? Did you,
No,
or they came spontaneously?
they came spontaneously. You know, I had them when I remember my lifetime from childhood on, and I was seeing my first angel when I was about 2.5
Yeah.
years old, and I was
Yeah.
seeing dead dogs, big dogs of the family when I
Mm,
was about 1 year old.
yeah.
And later I thought I just had a very vivid fantasy,
Yeah.
and it was a kind of second life I had, which my friends in school did not know much about,
Yeah.
because I thought that's too weird. And
Yeah.
then when I got introduced to Reiki, and I think it wasn't exactly Reiki, it was some spiritual high power stuff that I woke up in a way and understood, oh, come on, these are
Yeah.
former lifetimes you remember because all this is coherent. It
Right.
fits to each other. It's not a movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh wow. So they came spontaneously. And then how did you find Reiki? How did Reiki find you, Walter?
Oh, well, uh, it was like that. I was always ill since my childhood. I was very ill.
Yeah.
And when I was in the beginning of my 20s, I was to several medical doctors, regular medicine, and they told me, we can't do anything for you. You just need to live with it and go for early retirement. I said,
Right.
come on, I think I was 23 or something. I don't want to go to early retirement. I want
Yeah.
to do something with my life.
Right.
So I was going into psychotherapy and I was looking for naturopathic doctors, and this naturopathic doctor, he really did a lot of good for me. And he talked with me. And one day I was looking at the wall in this practice, and
Mhm.
there was a Reiki certificate. I had no idea what Reiki was. So I asked him, what is that? And he said, I will not tell you,
Yeah.
but in a few weeks there is a class here about that, and you go there.
Yeah.
I had no idea. There
Wow.
was no book
Yeah.
around at that time. So
Yeah.
I was going there because I trusted the person.
Yeah.
And then I had a very, very strange weekend with lots of spiritual
Mm.
people who were feeling Kundalini energy going
Mhm.
up and down and seeing angels and something. And I thought, wow, it's strange. And at the same time, it feels familiar, you know?
Right. Right. And then that's it. So it's very intuitive, these
Yeah.
things. They happen
Yeah.
spontaneously and we are guided to them.
Oh, yeah.
How beautiful to hear that. It really feels like a return to love, doesn't it? That's the actually the title of this interview. Memories of Lemuria, Return to Love, because that's what it came to me.
Yes. Yes. I think, as always, Valeria, as long as I know you, you are very intuitive with these kind of things. And it is a return to love because in my last life, I, I tried to love, but in a way which doesn't work.
Right.
And I understood in the life between
Yeah.
the mistakes, the errors I did. So I
Yes.
was trying my very best to get back into that state because in Lemuria, people haven't had these kind of issues we have today. They didn't have these kind of
Right.
problems. They were living very close to divine beings. The energy was so dense.
Yeah. Wow. That also came spontaneously, Walter, the
Yeah.
memories of Lemuria.
Oh, well, I had these memories all of my lifetime, but I realized that they were memories and not just weird fantasy when I was
Right.
starting with Reiki. And it was like that I started to teach Reiki then after 2 years of training. And I was teaching things I never heard about, and they worked quite well. So I taught people methods to use Reiki in ways which never nobody had heard about.
Mm,
Didn't find this in any book, and it worked wonderfully.
yeah.
So there was also a voice in my head telling me things
Yeah.
I should teach. And
Yeah.
during the first years, it was very hard to tell this voice, shut up, come on,
Yeah.
that's now done, the seminar is over.
Yeah.
You need to
It's true.
unwind.
Yeah.
And later I understood this was a part of me which was in contact with all my former lifetimes and started to come through, to push through.
Wow. So for those who don't know, I have to ask the basic question. What's Lemura? What is the meaning of the word? And when was the civilization, um, let's say, established? Where did this exist? On Earth or in a different planet?
In today's Pacifics. And in fact, the words Lemuria or Mu,
Oh,
as
yeah.
we refer to today in the literature to this part of planet Earth, the people who lived there about until 12,000 years ago, they didn't use the words Lemuria or Mu, of course not. They
Yeah.
they had different names for this part of Earth, and it wasn't a continent. There were much
Mm,
bigger islands, and some of the islands were connected to each other with land bridges.
yeah.
And the civilization of Lemuria was stretching out from today's Hawaii to parts
Um,
of Australia, New
yeah.
Zealand, southern China, Japan,
Yeah.
southern India, and,
Mm,
and also parts of Africa, even. And they
yeah.
settled always where it was warm and cozy and nice, and
Yeah.
they had it really easy to live.
Do we have any records? Let's
Yes,
say. Oh,
Yes, yes.
oh, you do.
All over the world, all over the world. You see, when I started with all these memories, I was very much in doubt because,
Yeah.
you know, there are plenty of people who say, I remember former lifetimes and this was like
Yes.
this and this was like that and so on.
Yeah.
And I always am a little bit reluctant. I understand very well that people say, okay, I hear you talking about that, but mm, I'm not
Yes.
really sure about that. And I understand them so well. So I was very skeptical and
Yeah.
I tried to get my hands on some research about that. In the
Yeah.
90s, it wasn't easy, but there was some research. So I found out, for example, that today's Hawaiians were not the first
Uh,
people on the islands of Hawaii. There were other
mm,
people before them. And
right.
then I found out that all over planet Earth, there is mythology about the Golden Age.
Yes.
And for example, the Hopi Indians, there
Yeah.
are books about the Hopi Indians that they came from another land in the Pacifics and that they came then to South America and made their way up to North America. And
Right.
they told about the Kachinas guiding them to that place. There
Mm,
are tales in Japan about that. There are tales in Scandinavia about that, about the fall of Lemuria also when they
yeah.
say Ragnarok was coming, the battle of the gods,
Right.
which in fact was meteorites coming down on Earth about 12,000 years ago.
Right.
And today we even know from geology, archaeology, that there was this catastrophe. You see, there was a time when suddenly mammoths by the thousands were deep frozen
Yeah.
somewhere in Siberia,
Yeah.
where the whole fauna and flora of planet Earth was changing, and lots of the big animals and the big plants
Yeah.
were just dying out
Right.
within a few years.
Right.
So how did that happen? And today we know why. And at that time, the axis of the Earth shifted. There were lots of tsunamis, of volcano eruptions. There was what they say in Scandinavia, the Fimbul winter, where there was darkness over the planet for many years, and so on. So today we know there was something, and we have the buildings. So
Uh,
you see all over the world, there are buildings with really heavy stones, more
yeah.
than 100 tons of weight. We couldn't do this with
True.
our modern machinery.
That's true.
And these blocks of stone, they are done in a way that you cannot put a sheet of paper in between them. They are so even.
Right.
And we don't know how they did that because you see Machu Picchu, for example, it's high
Right.
up in the Andes.
Yeah.
You just to go there is difficult. It's demanding. How
Yes.
did they do all these megalithic buildings
Right.
or the Cheops pyramid? You know, the most
Yeah.
ancient pyramids are those who have been done in the most sophisticated way. And
True.
the younger they come to our times, the worse they are.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
and there are many megalith buildings in Greece, in parts of Russia,
Yeah.
Siberia, uh, in many places of the world. I just came about a big building in today's Philippines on the top of a hill, you know.
Yeah.
And so today you have lots of books about this who feature this, also YouTube videos. So after some research in the 90s, in the beginning of 2000s, I understood this is for real.
Yeah.
And whenever I was trying to do something for other people, for clients, for students, and I didn't have the means, I remembered things.
Yeah.
So it's not that I just remember and then I do.
Right.
I I have a project. I try to help somebody.
Yeah.
I get an idea. I'm reading a book, and there is a sentence who makes me remember, and then I know things which are not in that book, and I write a new manual. I have written 200 manuals for 200 classes, which I give, you know.
Wow.
So this is how it works in a nutshell.
Yes. Wow. Now I have 1,000 questions. I better not
Oh,
get to
wow.
them.
Valeria,
Yeah.
oh.
Uh, wow. This is fascinating. It makes a lot of sense to me. It
Mhm.
resonates true. So I think, guess the first question is, so these civilizations, they were using a different kind of technology. Would you say
Yes.
that there was spiritual energy technology? Would you call technology at all, or just they were just so
Technology, it is not, it wasn't based on mineral oil or on nuclear fission or fusion or something like that. It was more like what Tesla did.
Ah,
And others like Schauberger, for example, Victor Schauberger, an Austrian guy,
yeah, yeah,
um, they they had contact to the great goddess, or you could say mother of life, and to the angels, her
yeah.
servants, and to a field of energy. We call it ether. And the concept of ether is scientific. It's just not
Right,
mainstream, but
right.
it's scientific. And you
Yeah,
can draw on that energy. It's infinite. And they were allowed to draw on that. And with this energy, they were able to do these megalithic buildings, and they were able to step on big stone slabs and fly through the air over
wow,
hundreds of miles, and
right,
they were able to influence the weather and
wow,
to ask the plants to grow in a way that they create a home for a family. For
right.
example, they
That's
could
amazing.
invite plants, herbs that they
Mm,
are making their home around the house, so that they had great sense, healing sense around them. So
right.
they were working together with nature. They
Yeah.
were not doing minimum harm to nature. They were a part of nature.
Yes, they are nature themselves. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah, exactly. You put the right words.
Yeah. So what happened? So what happened to the humans that came after that? Like, why did we become so disconnected with that kind of energy field, spiritual energy field?
It was, in fact, when the meteorites came down, because for several 10,000 of years, the Lemurians and the Atlanteans had built a kind of energy network in the places where they were living, and they were drawing on that network, and they had big gardens of the goddess. In fact, this was
Yeah.
many square kilometers,
Yeah.
and then the meteorites came down, and suddenly most of the people were extinct,
Yeah.
and the power spots were deleted, and the few survivors just tried to get through to the next day.
Yeah.
Then there was some efforts to rebuild something like Lemuria,
Yeah.
even when the most islands were done drowned in the sea. They did, for example, the megalithic structures in Europe, which you can see from Scandinavia down to the Black Sea.
Oh.
But there were some people who liked to have this kind of civilization again. Then there were others who were
Yeah.
very patriarchalic, very aggressive,
Yeah.
and they were coming again and again and wanting to conquer
Yeah.
these, let's say, easy living uh, civilizations. And
Yeah.
finally, they were doing it. And then we had the patriarchal societies and the patriarchal religions and churches taking
Yes.
over. And this is not working together with nature. It doesn't work that way.
Right. So this leads beautifully to the topic of the Lemurian mother tree.
Yeah.
So Atlantis and Lemuria, they were actually based on the feminine, the divine feminine energy. Is that what it is, Walter?
Well, if I would say yes, then people would think that it was not patriarchal, it was matriarchal, and that's not
Oh,
true,
yeah, right.
because matriarchal is just the opposite of
Mm,
patriarchal.
yes, yeah,
It was natural.
yeah.
So that means women were powerful in their own way,
Right.
and men were powerful in their own way. But just
Yeah,
to give you an example,
yeah,
in that time in Lemuria, people understood that a woman needed to open up to the great goddess and allow the great goddess to shine through her to help men to be pacifists
yeah.
and do something
Mm,
constructive.
yeah,
Because without being bound to a woman,
yeah,
they would not have a home here, and they would go around and loot and pillage and burn and do many aggressive acts, like
right.
you see in civilizations which do
Yeah,
not worship the feminine.
yeah.
So it was based on the feminine principle, but not that the feminine was the kind of new governing
Mm,
quality.
yeah.
They were standing side by side and doing their own thing, which they could do best.
They worked in harmony, so it's this
Exactly,
perfect,
exactly.
yeah,
Yes,
harmonic
right, right.
relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, that resonates true. Yeah, thank you for making that point of the two sides. When we go from one extreme to the other, it doesn't work. So
Mm.
it is when you speak of nature, it's because nature very much seems to be in harmony, and we human beings seem to be kind of disconnected from
Oh
that
yeah,
sense of harmony. And
yeah.
that's because we lost contact with this. We are not working with those two kinds of energies in the right way, per se, right, Walter?
Yes, I guess this started. I did a lot of research about that. When did it start that humanity was going the wrong path?
Yeah.
And I was remembering much of Lemuria, but never ever have seen them using metal tools. And
Ah,
so I found out
yeah.
that the start of the big transformation to the negative was when humanity started to dig out ore of the earth and melt it down to metal, because for this they
Oh,
had to cut down wood. And with the metal, they could build ships and they had to cut down more wood.
yeah.
So, in the ancient world, about 10,000 years ago, most of the planet was covered in forest. So, in Caesar's times, about 2,000 years ago, it was said that if there is a squirrel coming from the Mediterranean uh, shores, it was able to walk on the forest and
Yeah.
reach the Atlantic without one time going to the earth.
Right.
So today,
Yeah.
Spain has not that much trees, and France and England and Germany and Italy and so
Yeah.
on, they all are more or less treeless. And
Yeah.
without the trees, the
Yeah.
people do not have the connection to the universe they could have.
Wow. Yeah, I never heard. Of course, I have heard about the trees and their sacredness, so that they actually have a network. They're very connected. They help
Oh,
one
yes.
another.
Oh, yeah.
But the Lemurian mother tree, is that a specific kind of tree or kind
Yes.
of trees? Are they
Yes.
okay?
It's a special kind of blessed trees. The tree could be of any kind. It could be an oak, it could be a willow, it doesn't matter. It could be any tree, but it
Yeah.
needs to be willing to be blessed and take over a certain work,
Yeah.
a project. So a mother tree always has a dryad, a kind of tree angel,
Yeah.
which is very powerful, very wise, and helps the tree to grow in a way that it acts like a big antenna
Mm,
for the spiritual
yeah.
information coming from the universe.
Yeah.
Because the more young from the universe comes on the planet Earth, the
Yeah.
more the yin of the Mother Earth is being activated.
Right.
And so
Ah,
Mother Earth can start to take care for us again. And some time ago, the angels who guide me, they came to me and said, "We like to get the mother trees again growing." And I
yeah.
said, "What are mother trees?" And they told me that story. And they said, "See, you humans, you have developed your technology to destroy the whole earth.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We want you to live on. But for
Right.
this, you need to radically change your ways.
Yeah.
So you cannot do this from your mind. The mind is
Mm-hmm.
much too small, but
Mm,
you can do this from the heart.
right.
And so you need the mother trees to inspire you."
Right.
And so I give teachings that people learn how to identify trees who like to become mother trees, take care for them until they can take care for us.
Right. Wow. That sounds amazing. And that could be anywhere in the world. How do we learn to identify these Lemuria mother trees?
You do a special guided meditation
Yeah.
and you get an initiation, which is a kind of shortcut because, the priestesses and priests in ancient Lemuria, they were prepared years to work together with the mother trees. We don't have that time. The angels say,
Right.
you need to do it now. You don't have the time to do it next century.
Yeah.
So we give you the means to do that. And
Yeah.
then there are work groups of like-minded people. I don't organize this. I just explain to them what kind of experience they could have together when working together, and
Yeah.
many of them do. And so we have now groups in, I think, about half a dozen countries who
Uh,
identify mother trees, take care for them, help them to grow, help
yeah.
them to develop their spiritual talents.
Yeah.
And this is a work I love to do. It helps, it contributes a little bit, but it contributes to the transformation of planet Earth and of humanity.
Yes, it really does. We need all the help
Yeah.
that we can get, that's for sure. I know that a lot of us, including myself, kind of focus on personal spirituality, kind of awakening my own heart and living from my heart within, let's say, my own home, being the body mind. But then, of course, I'm expanding that by doing this work in my family and friends and community here. But yeah, that doesn't seem to be enough. So we have to do a lot more than that. I love trees though. And I was just thinking as you were describing how to kind of nurture them and find them, because there are so many trees around me, and but some of them are dying, and I heard that they have like a certain years, they live only up to 100 years and then naturally they die. Is that the mother trees, do they have do they live, how long do they live for?
Well, it depends on the lifespan of the kind of tree, but you could say that they live about 50% to 70% longer than the regular lifetime of that kind of tree. So, for example, if
Ah,
an oak lives about
yeah.
400 years, you could say, being a mother tree, she will live about 700, maybe 850 years,
Wow. That's
having more time to develop. And
yeah,
you see, I
yeah.
think everybody knows how it feels when the spiritual presence of trees enfolds. When you get into a forest with high trees,
Yeah.
don't you feel like in a cathedral?
Yes,
Now,
yes.
if there would be mother trees
Yeah.
supporting this, it would be hundredfold.
Mm, yeah, true.
So that's what I try to pass on to people.
Yeah, I love that, Walter. How beautiful. What a amazing, beautiful
Mhm.
mission to have.
Oh, yes,
Uh,
it is.
do you take it personal or do you always work from the universal point of view? It's you don't do you feel like you're doing it or the universe life itself?
I do both. And it's like that. I think that the personal transformation, like you said, that you work on yourself is so
Yeah,
important.
yeah,
Absolutely. On the other hand,
yeah,
many people are not there.
right.
And if you give them the opportunity, like being in the energy of such a big forest with huge trees,
Yeah,
something inside of them is being touched. I experienced that. And
yeah,
suddenly, someone who was very much buried in the material world
yeah,
wakes up and says, I want more of that.
yeah,
What is it? What is it here?
yeah,
They start to ask questions. They
yeah,
start to develop a new perspective.
true.
That's what I want. I want both of that because I guess we need it.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. Yes. Well, we can't separate those two realities, right? The personal and the universal. They are essentially one, but it feels separate. I read something about the trees. How do we connect with the? You have been talking about the matrix of the mother trees and how we connect. But there's something else that I read. Finding the right potential mother trees and energetic in the energetic field in the material world. So would we find the mother trees let's say matrix within the energetic field? It's something that's from the heart, again goes back to the heart.
Yes, in a way, yes. You see, Valeria, people need first to go to their own very center
Yeah,
where they are like divine wants them to be. And
right,
then from
right.
that point on, they can expand and find the potential mother trees which are in resonance to what they are.
Yes.
Because when I come from my very core, I can activate the core of the trees.
Mm, yeah.
They are longing for that, but they need someone who lends them a hand.
Yes. So there is this energetic exchange. So we are
Yes,
it's
yes,
transmission, right? Not
yes,
exchange,
yes.
transmission. Wow. Yeah, that makes me kind of just stop for a moment and go back to the interconnectedness of everything. So everything is connected, and we are constantly affecting one another in everything around us. But we need to be more, let's say, aware of those energies.
Oh, yeah.
That is so true, because a lot of times we go, like when I go to nature, just walk around. I can think, I can sense like the body mind kind of wanting to get the energy from the field. Like, oh, I'm here just to feel better, so I distress, so I feel calm or whatever it is. But I never think about giving that energy
Right,
to the trees. That's an
right.
interesting perspective. I never thought it that way.
It's like when you get into the presence of your own core, you also need to find a way through the trauma which
Yeah,
usually prevent you from going there. So this
yeah.
is why I give classes about this, formal teachings, because I need to help the participants to get
Mm,
through
yeah,
these obstacles to
yeah.
their own core. And from that core, they need to get through the obstacles to find the potential mother trees. And when they come
Mm,
together, they
yeah,
feel the great goddess. And this feeling is
yeah.
so powerful that you don't forget who you are again. So
Mm.
it's not only that we give the mother trees, they give so much back to us.
Yes. So it is this mutual kind of transmission.
Yes.
Giving is giving and receiving, which it is love. That's really my definition of love.
I guess so. I guess so. They have a specific name for this in Japan. They call it kaji, Kaji,
Yeah.
kaji, giving the divine, and the divine gives you.
Yes. Right. And it feels that way. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you give these classes in person, Walter,
Yes,
or
of course.
online? Oh, in
I,
person and
what
online, both?
online, but not as a recording,
Yes.
because I need to teach people individually. I need to be with them individually. So I do this in German and in English, but not as a recorded class.
Right.
People need my presence. They need the talk. They need the discussion to
Yes.
get through the difficulties.
Right. So it is live like this. Yeah. Where you
Yes.
just, right. Do you feel a difference between meeting someone in person physically and like this online? Is there a energetically difference?
Well, if you would have asked me, let's say before Corona,
Yeah.
2019 or so, I would have said, of course. I have
Mm.
experience with online classes since I think it was about 2008, something starting. Today, well, Corona did a lot of harm to us in many different ways.
Right.
But on the other hand, it helped us with a transformation. You see, today I can give classes in the evening for 3 hours to people from about 10 different countries.
Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah.
within minutes, we have an energy field coming
Yeah.
together,
Yeah. Mm.
experiencing things together. They go into the breakout rooms, they share spiritual closeness.
Yeah.
So, of course, it is different if you hug someone. Of course, is different if you smell the scent of a person, if you
Yeah.
walk hand in hand. On the other hand, what we need, we as humanity, in my understanding
Mm.
today, what we need to learn is to be a global community. If we want to change the world, we
Yeah.
need to grow over the region. We need to grow farther than the nation, farther than the continent. We need to be a humanity of sisters and brothers.
Yeah.
And this, what we do right here, this
Yeah.
is one of the means to do that.
Yes. That's true. So, because of course, Reiki, that's the principle. Well, Reiki, it's done also remotely. I know that I have done it before, and I felt
Yeah,
the energies. It was like
yes,
incredible. The
yes.
person was far away from me, and I felt the energy. So, but what are you saying? These teachings, these messages that are so important, it has to reach as far as we can as possible. So this technology of the internet helps a lot, and I absolutely agree. I love the idea of meeting people in person. I miss that too. A lot of times I used to hold meetings and all, and now I don't for some reason. But because this has been a calling, so that might be the reason, because that could reach more people everywhere in the world.
Oh, yes, so much more people,
Yeah.
and they can meet each other. See, by doing these webinars, people from many different countries came together. They made friends. They meet
Yeah,
every week on Skype or on Zoom or so. So they never would have met if we would not have the webinars.
that's true.
And
Yes.
there is one thing else. People have the need to develop their psychic talents, feeling the others. And
Yeah,
there's a longing to meet the others, and they have the development of extrasensory perception,
yeah.
and we need that to be close to the angels.
Ah, the same kind of, yeah, energy field, of course, because much
Exactly.
subtle. It's very subtle. It's not
Yes.
the
Yes.
gross one. Yes, I agree. We need to develop that a lot more. Wow. Yeah, you kind of pause me a lot of times. I'm like, this makes sense, of course. So now it's time to talk about the indigo children, star children, and children of the light. What are they and how are they connected? Are they somewhat similar?
In some ways, yes, because they all have more than average talent to do things spiritual. On the
Yeah.
other hand, they are also very different. So I call them children because when I started to give teachings about them, there were parents who came to me and said, "Our children are so weird. We don't
Yeah.
know what to do with them. They
Yes.
do things, and we think they are wise, but on the other hand, they are so strange. And what should we
Yes.
do?"
Yeah.
And so I started to give classes because I could not give all the teachings in person, one to one or one to two.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
was not possible. So
Yeah.
I gave classes, and I told them about the indigo children, star children, and children of the light. And let's
Yeah.
start with the children of the light
Yeah.
because they are not related to Lemuria. The other two are.
Okay.
The children of the light are angels, and angels who did not make the decision like we humans do to
Ah,
live for many, many, many lives in the
right.
material plane.
Right.
So, in my understanding, we all are angels, but
Yeah.
we made a decision. And so the angelic body sleeps behind the doors of heaven
Yeah.
until we have done our time gathering experience here. But the children of the light, they are coming here for one, two, maybe three lives.
Wow.
And usually they die young. But
Ah,
what life they have. They they are doing so much things. They are moving so much. They give impulses into society. They
yeah.
give scientific, philosophical, artistical input.
Yeah.
And they are burning bright like a big, big flame.
Yeah.
And even when they are very young,
Yeah.
they are not content with a material plane. They are
Mm.
rebellious because they cannot do this, and something happens, and they cannot do that, and they are at another place, and
Yeah.
they are worried about that, and they think, "What's going on here? Why can't I do that?" And they do not really understand the need to eat and to drink, and they don't understand the need to have sleep and rest. And
Yeah. Ah,
so they are very sensual. They are very very creative. So even in young years, they act like grown-ups, but let's say creative,
yeah.
rebellious grown-ups.
Right.
And so they are like a big burning flame and giving light to everything
Mm.
around.
Yeah.
And not everybody, but many of them die early because they are burned out. The
Ah,
material structure cannot hold this much energy.
that's true. Ah,
And divine sends them to us because we need these impulses. We need them to help us to carry on into a new direction.
yes.
So I think you all know examples.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. How intuitive. Yeah, what are some good examples of that, Walter?
Well, you
Huh.
see, there are people like
Yeah,
like James Dean, or Martin Luther King,
yeah,
Gandhi,
yeah,
Einstein. Not everybody of them, of course, died young,
yeah,
but some of them did. Jimi Hendrix,
yeah,
um, people who moved
yeah.
sometimes the mind, but mostly the hearts. So
Yeah,
if you listen to a concert of Jimi Hendrix, you might like rock or not,
yeah,
but the presence, the energy moves you.
yeah,
And Albert Einstein, if you read the biographies,
Yeah.
he wasn't so rational. In fact, he was not really a mathematician. He was able to do that.
Yeah.
But his great achievements he
Yeah.
got through his ability to imagine things, to
Yes.
dream things.
True.
Yeah. And there are so many, and some of them are
Wow.
famous, others not. But they all gave us a kind of role model. They gave us a new direction. They helped us to wake up, like Gandhi did with his peace movement, or Martin Luther King in the
Yeah.
times of the Vietnam War and so on. And then there are the Indigo children and the Star children. And let's talk about the Star
Yeah.
children, because when the meteorites came down, out of many reasons, there were, well, the Lemurians, since many tens of thousands of years, were members of an interstellar community of civilizations who had the same idea of life.
Yeah.
And when there was this bunch of meteorites coming down to Earth, many of the aliens of other beings were traveling to planet Earth with their personalities,
Yeah.
being guests in Lemurians. And when then the big rocks came down and everything was destroyed, all the technology was destroyed, they couldn't go back. There is
Right.
a kind of natural law that when you die in a certain biotope like planet Earth, you are reborn there.
Yeah.
So today you
Yeah.
find many people who have weird memories, who
Yeah.
have who feel more close to a certain kind of animal than to other humans,
Right.
who have the impression that a different way of life would be natural and right, but they don't do it because the body doesn't work that way, and so on.
Mm. Yeah.
And whenever I talked about that, I experienced that these people were relieved from a burden because they thought there were cases for psychiatry. Now they
Yeah.
understood they
Yeah.
are different, they are not ill.
Right.
It's quite okay that they feel close to an octopus because their original form was like that.
Yeah.
That they feel like a dolphin, that they feel
Yeah.
like a dog because their original form was like that.
Mm.
That the way they wanted to live was just because this was the original way of
Mm.
living.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all these people are highly gifted spiritually,
Yeah.
and as soon as they understand that the only way to go back one day, is that they do something now to
Yeah.
change the path of mankind.
Right.
While
Wow.
the Indigo
Wow.
children,
Yeah.
they were so-called diplomats in Lemuria. They were traveling from village to village, passing on news, helping people to make deals in business,
Yeah.
and they were all about helping people to understand each other, to communicate, to create balance and harmony. So when you meet an indigo child today, you meet someone, grown up or child, it doesn't matter, who cannot stand disharmony.
Mm.
And I think we
Yeah.
all know children who
Yeah.
want to help that mommy and puppy talk with each other in a
Yes.
harmonious way. That
True.
later on they try to bring people together uh, to make them understand each other
Yeah.
and so on. And they are like, they hear the grass grow, we say in Germany.
Yeah.
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 So when
Mhm.
there is someone in the family in another room and there is disharmony, they feel it here. They go there.
Yeah.
And as long as this is subconscious, it's a burden. They
Yeah.
need to learn about the ways of a psychic, how to center themselves, how to ground themselves, how to how to turn in the antenna or
Yeah.
move them out, because they should not always have the antennas like this. That's too much for everybody. They seem to
Right.
be weak in the third chakra in the center, but they are not. They are much more stronger than the average person. It's just that the load of information is too much for them. And as
Yeah.
soon as I train them to learn to fold in the antenna, to make the center stronger, they
Yeah.
have a life. And now
Ah.
they can really do what they came here to do.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. I mean, I keep saying that word because, yeah, it is. So people listening to this, they might watching this video and listening, they might think, oh, I am one of them. That's
Yes,
exactly me, right?
yes.
Because,
Well, I give them one thing to do, which is very easy and it's very good.
yeah,
It comes from martial arts, from Zen meditation, and it's called Hara breathing.
yeah,
Hara is a point of equilibrium, of balance on all levels, two finger width below the navel, inside of your body. If you have the intention when breathing in to breathe to that point
yeah,
and breathing out to breathe out from that point, it will help you to stabilize.
yeah.
Even if you are a highly gifted indigo child, and if you do this, it will change your life.
Wow. So that's a great exercise. Is this available on your website too?
No, it's not on my website, but people can just jot down a note about that. It's very easy to do. You just need to
Yeah.
do this regularly.
Yes. Every day or every moment,
Yeah, yeah,
hours a day.
ongoing, ongoing.
So out of curiosity, if you don't mind, we're almost at the end. Um, are you, would you be considered or consider yourself indigo children, star children, or children of light?
Well, Star Child, because that's also something I had really to chew on, when I
Yeah.
realized in the 90s that I'm not from planet Earth.
Right.
And I thought, are you, do you need the red pill and the blue pill and the green pill and
Yes.
so on?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh my
after a while,
God.
I
Yes.
accepted that because there were so many things which I remembered which were not from here.
Yes.
And so I understood that if I want to go back, I have to. That's a personal reason why I do my work, besides
Yes.
the other reasons. I
Yes.
have to do something to get access to that technology again. So otherwise, it's a wonderful planet, but it's not where I really came from.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. But in the end, Walter, I always ask the question about freedom itself. What is to be free? Uh, it's not in a form, right? We cannot have freedom within the for any kind of form because it's always changing. Like love to think about a placeless place where there's harmony, where there's love, but it's a placeless place. It cannot be a form, a place with a form, anything with form. That's how for some reason, that's how I, in this moment, I understand what freedom is. So talk to me about your own perspective, your own meaning, your own idea of freedom.
That's an interesting coincidence, Valeria, because
Yeah.
just before we were meeting for this interview, I
Yeah.
listened on YouTube to some songs. I like oldies. I'm old, as you
Yes, you're a
know.
musician, right?
And there's a song,
Yeah.
freedom's just another word for nothing else to lose.
Yeah,
And so I
yeah,
guess if you understood that the true you
yeah,
has nothing else to lose,
right.
then you're free.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Because it was never a something, was never a thing. So yeah, there's no thing to lose
Yeah.
because we're never a thing. We are spiritual beings.
We are spiritual beings, and when you get up, I remember many lives in between, and no angel asked me about which car I was driving or what kind of
Yeah.
house I was living
Yes.
in.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were not interested in that. They
Yeah.
asked about my achievements in forms of love and of learning, but
Yes.
not about the house or the clothes or so.
So let me see. I have other notes here, Walter. We're almost at the end for the ending questions. I know I have a question, a guided question about the integration of your spiritual, the healing methods from Lemuria. You already talked about that actually. So you integrated a lot of those methods within the Reiki, the Rainbow Reiki system that you have
That's right.
now.
That's
Yeah, would
right.
you like to talk about that a little bit more?
Yes, you see, as I mentioned in the beginning of this interview, I was teaching things spontaneously,
Yeah,
which I did not know before.
right.
And the more I was doing research about that, I understood this was about my memories. When people asked me about something I didn't know, and I just opened up myself and centered in my heart, the
Yeah,
answer came.
yeah,
And I was seeing movies in my head, or let's say clips of
yeah,
movies, how this needed to be done.
yeah.
So more and more, the Reiki which I learned turned into an extension into Rainbow Reiki with all
Yeah.
the Lemurian techniques. So, in fact, today I could say it's Lemurian Reiki
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
energy Reiki was not invented. The energy Reiki was always with us. And the
Uh,
Lemurians used this energy, but in different and more, let's say, for sophisticated ways.
yeah.
We had 4 years, but the Lemurians, they had several 10,000 of years to learn that. And
Wow.
this is why I teach about 20 classes about Lemurian Reiki energy work.
Yes. How wonderful. Yeah. I love the. I mean, I love the name. I saw rainbow for some reason. It's a very light. It's well, it's very inspiring to think about rainbows. So
It
that
is.
yeah, very inspiring. Just to think about it, the image of it.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Another question. Oh, yeah. So you have developed also a special hypnosis method that is
Yeah.
the key to the individual memories of former Lemurian lifetimes and the related divine wisdom a person gathered in former lifetimes. So is that similar to the to the Rainbow Reiki system, or that is something apart from it?
Well, you see, there are many people who come to me who have a kind of potential waiting to be activated from the Lemurian lives.
Yeah,
Why this is so, I can only guess, but I made this experience again and again.
yeah,
So after a while, I tried to find out how could I help these people to get access to their own potentials. I know how to draw on my potentials, but they have
yeah,
potentials too. So I
right.
found out there are special ways of hypnosis. I
Yeah,
was really digging deep into hypnosis,
yeah,
and I found some methods of hypnosis where you go into a state which is beyond language.
right.
And from that
Wow,
state, you can draw. And it's beyond the so called Estale state, it's even
right,
deeper.
right.
And you can draw on this with the help of angels, and you can then support a human to get conscious about the heritage. It takes a while because in the
Okay.
beginning it was like with me also. There are bits and pieces of puzzles, but
Yeah,
if they go there more often, if they have projects in their life, the
right.
puzzles are coming together, making a picture, and then suddenly they say, "That's it."
That's true.
That's
Yeah,
my well, that's what my wish is. I want them to wake up.
yeah. It sounds wonderful because there's something about hypnosis, hypnotherapy, hypnosis that I interview people often, and I see the power of that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this one especially, going deeper into memories, just
Yes.
bringing to get the whole picture in developing the spiritual potentials that we have.
Combining this with energy work, it's a dream.
Yes, yeah, it really feels that way. Thank you so much, Walter, for being you.
Thank
It's
you,
so
Valeria.
beautiful. Thank you. So beautiful. So I have these ending questions. You, I want to make a few comments. I also want to mention the something that I read within the materials that you sent me. The Sacred Rainbow Gardens of Mu of Lemuria. So people who performed a great service to their community were honored by being ritually buried in one of the rainbow gardens. So I guess I thought about that because that very much relates to you, the rainbow gardens. So that's it's interesting. Like you have this memory, and now you have also this almost documentation, this record of the garden that existed. So that caught my attention. I had to say that here. I just read it back. And also the books that you have written. I have some of them here, so I'll mention some of them. The Spirit of Reiki, the Complete Reiki Handbook, also the Aura Healing Handbook, Rainbow Reiki, Reiki Best Practices, and the Tao of Money. And also, the last thing that I had to bring, I actually brought it on here off record about this new offering. I believe it's a course on your website. Talk to me for a moment about that. I know it's advanced, and you did mention that too.
There is, you could say, a freebie,
Yeah,
and it's about opening your heart and expanding your field of love. And I regularly initiate people for free into this. They can download a manual, and they have the option then to get into this field without the necessity to go anywhere. They can just draw on that field and enable themselves to open the heart. It is so enchanting to really feel that. It's enchanting to understand not only with a rational mind,
Yeah.
but with a heart what's going on when you do Valaya Saran.
Ah, Valaya Saran. Right.
Mhm.
Ah, wow. And this, so to kind of delight in this offer, we have to have some training, some other trainings, right?
No, you can just come as you are. Valaya Saran is for everybody. No training necessary.
No previous trainings.
No,
Okay,
no,
that's
nothing.
wonderful to
No.
know. I'm mentioning this because this is right on your home page website, so we see that right away.
It's in German and it's also available in English.
Yes, you got two languages. Wonderful to know too. I'll have the link here, walterlubeck.com. And the spelling is different. Walter, so Walter, but Lubeck is Luebeck.com. So I'll have that on the video interview as well.
Thank you.
So to end this interview, I usually ask a question. So let me see. Yes, I'll ask you this question to end the interview. What is love to you, Walter? How would you describe what love is?
Well, the thing which makes you love feel most directly, in my understanding, is gravitation.
Ah,
Whenever there are some pieces of dust somewhere in the universe, they try to come together.
yeah.
So,
Mm,
whenever we move from a state of
yeah.
less oneness to more oneness, we feel love.
Yes. True.
So, love is becoming one, not being one, but becoming one.
Ah, yes, because love from a human experience, from the human nature, right, would be yeah, we would think about becoming love, but it's becoming one, but it's really being one. Not being one, becoming one from the human experience. That makes a lot of sense because a lot of times I think about being already one, but as a body mind, I can only become one by connecting. That's just such a refreshing. Yeah, you pause me all the time. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
again for your beautiful presence, Walter. Yeah, thank you.
Thank
It's
you,
a
Valeria.
gift to all of us. And we'll see you soon. Bye for now. Take good care of yourself.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.